Hey guys, Max Convexity, Jack's back there somewhere. Say hi, Jax. Alright, let's try to get this call option basics part 2 done today. Alright, I did part 1 the other day. It was called Too Long Don't Read Call Options or something like that. There's a lot better, and I said this in the last video, there's a lot better and more complete, more thorough explanations of how to trade options out there on the internet. I'm not trying to do one of those. I'm trying to teach you guys what I think you need to know about options. And I want to get you guys to the point of selling options, but to talk about selling options, we have to talk about buying options first. All right, so I made a spreadsheet. We're going to talk about puts today, but we're also going to go back and talk about calls. I know that my last video, I rewatched it, and it wasn't the greatest video. But hopefully anyone that's really interested in learning about call options, went and watch the other videos I told you to watch. You guys go watch those videos. Then you can watch mine to supplement your knowledge. Then we're going to have fun when I show you guys how to sell credit spreads on the SPX and how to make money just like Defiance does, but without having to own the Defiance fund. Then also when I show you how to hedge out the risk and all that good stuff. But we have to talk about buying options first. It's not like buying options is stupid and there's never a case to do it. There's lots of cases to do it. More often than not, you want to be on the other side of the equation. You want to be selling options, but not always. There's lots of cases where it's great to buy options. It'd been nice to buy some put options this morning. Market's kind of tanking. Here, let's look at this 30-minute chart. Well, there's a 30-minute chart. Anyway, but options, my point about options are they're great when you want to make a directional bet, and it's great as long as you're correct about your directional bet. And not only do you have to be correct, you have to be correct, sufficiently correct enough to overcome the extrinsic premium you're paying, or the time premium. So let's go back to review real quick. Let's talk about a call option here. We're going to use the stock XYZ. All right. We're going to say we bought one call option. The strike price, or the stock's at 100, and we're just going to use the 100 strike price. And we're going to say we paid $3 for it. Okay, and the strike price is 100. Okay. All right. So, just to review, that means we need to at least get the stock to 103 before expiration. Expiration's, well, it was 5 days because I was working on this, but now it's Friday. It's whenever Friday is. So call Friday. Is it already Wednesday? Yeah, call Friday 2 days. Okay. I've been working on this video. It doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. Hell, to make this more realistic, we'll say since expiration's 2 days away, this option only costs $2 now. Its theta has decayed. Its price is decaying. Somebody that bought it yesterday at $3, the same thing's worth $2 today. That's the nature of buying options. And that's why generally you should try to be on the other side of the equation. Anyway, okay, to illustrate this point though, so I have intrinsic and extrinsic. Intrinsic is the in-the-money amount of the option. In other words, if expiration day was here right now, could I exercise that option? In other words, could I exercise it, and the exercise price is 100, was the strike price. Could I exercise it, or how much would I make if I exercised it right now? That's what intrinsic is. Extrinsic is everything else. Extrinsic is the time premium. So right now, if you exercise this option now, you could exercise it at 100, but heck, the stock's trading at 102 right now. Well, I don't have the stock's price right now, but anyway, theoretically, if you exercise it now, you wouldn't be able to make money because you only have 100. The strike price is 100. Let's do it like this. If the strike price is 95, and the option, it wouldn't cost 2, it would cost more like 7. It would have to cost more because it's in the money. Okay, so in this example, this gives someone the right to buy the stock on Friday at $95. So this does have some intrinsic value. If I wanted to exercise this right now, I could exercise it for $95. and say the stock's at 100 right now, and I can make $5. So that the amount that you could make if you exercise it right now is the time premium. The reason you wouldn't want to do that is because you have to pay $7 to buy it right now. This option's price is composed of intrinsic and extrinsic. Intrinsic is the in-the-money amount. So that's simply the strike price less the, here, let me switch the strike price up here too. That's simply the strike price less the current price. I should have put a current price up here somewhere. Anyway, the current price is 100 for the sake of this example. All right, so it's worth 5 points intrinsically. You could exercise it at 95, and then you could turn around and sell it at 100 because the market for XYZ stock's at 100 right now. So it's worth $5. Now, if you buy the option, the market maker's not going to give it to you for $5 because that would be too fair. That would actually be perfectly fair. In fact, if you could buy this at $5, there wouldn't be any difference between having this and having the stock. And options are always a little bit less capital efficient than the stock. There has to be, because of the extrinsic value. When you're buying options, you're paying the extrinsic value. When you're selling options, you're receiving the extrinsic value. So let's look at this. Let's say some options are just ridiculously expensive. Let's say this option's premium is $10. It's a 95 strike, and that's for 2 days from now, today. So the break even's 105. So this option doesn't even start to make money until we get to 105. So let's compare it with the dude who bought the stock. He just bought the shares of the stock. Okay, so we're going to say that the price at expiration is 105. So that's the price on Friday. Okay. So what happened to the option buyer? He paid $10 for the contract. This is like renting a stock. He did the old, I'm going to rent this stock. Not even renting the whole stock, just renting the upside above 95. When you buy an option, that's all you're doing. You're renting the upside above the strike price. When you buy it, that's when you buy a call. When you buy a put, you're renting the downside below the strike price. And you have till expiration date to cash in your bet. So in this case, the stock went from 100 to 105, which is great. The guy that bought the stock, he bought the stock for $10,500. He could sell it for bought the stock for $10,000. He could sell it for $10,500. He made a nice profit of $500 or 5% on his investment. That's wonderful. The guy that bought the option, the good thing about buying the option, it didn't cost him as much up front. It only cost him $1,000. The bad thing about buying the option is he's not going to make any money on it. It's gonna be worth $1,000 when he sells it too. Unfortunately for him. And that's why when you're a buyer of an option, you're looking for cheap options. I wouldn't be interested in an option that was $10 for a 95 strike price on a $100 stock for 2 days. That would be ridiculous. I put that price in there to try to make a ridiculous example. Here's a better example. Let's say the option was trading at 6. Okay. That option's trading at 6, then it's a little bit better buy for the buyer. I mean, the less is better. But at 6, the same guy could have made $4. All right, let's review. If he paid $6 for a 95 strike, that makes his break even 101. 6 plus 95 is 101. The stock goes to 105, and you rented the upside above 95. So that means that the strike price is 95, and it ended at 105. So the option's price at expiration was $10, but this guy just paid $6, so the $4 is his profit. Now look what happens. I didn't put extrinsic and extrinsic, but right here, that's the wrong number. But this should have said 10. The ending price on this option was actually, the ending extrinsic value was actually $10. I'll fix that formula in a second. I'm just going to write 10 in there. Okay, because the intrinsic went from 5 to 10. The reason it was at 5 when you bought it, because the stock was at 100. So 100 less the strike price is the intrinsic. All right, and the extrinsic was everything else. The total option was $6, so the extra dollar was everything else. So it's $6 altogether. But at expiration, there is no extrinsic. The extrinsic is gone. It doesn't matter how high the stock goes. The stock goes to $1 million. the extrinsic value is always going to be 0. You know, if the stock goes to 0, it's also going to have no extrinsic value. So as the seller of an option, the higher the extrinsic number, the better it is for you, because that's what you're actually trying to capture. When you're selling options, it's just a scheme to capture extrinsic value. That's all it is. That's all Defiance is doing. That's all Warren Buffett does when he sells options. That's what you do. And because of the extrinsic value is generally, or because options are generally high, the market overestimates volatility compared to how it usually turns out. So that's why you can win 68 or 70% of the time when you sell these big juicy index puts like the QQQY does. All right. See, back to our example though. So this guy, when you look at options, if you're smart about it and you don't pay too much, like the last guy that paid 10, you know, maybe he really liked that stock or whatever, but it just puts the odds way against you. This guy that paid 6, you know, he doesn't have the odds against him as much. If I switch this to 10, it puts 5 in that extrinsic column. And we know that's going to go to 0. So you're fighting that. You almost the second you buy an option, you've lost whatever the extrinsic in it is. The second you buy this, you can count on that 5 being gone. It's gone the second you buy it. That's why, of course, when you want to sell it, you look for a high extrinsic value, and you can count that as a profit. All right, let's go back here to 6. But if you're smart and you use more reasonable priced options, they can be a good deal compared to the stock. So this guy that paid 6 for the option, you know, he made a 66% profit. He didn't spend as much money. If the stock would have gone way down, he would have looked way better than this guy. Because this guy, when you buy stock, you make or lose 1-to-1. There's no asymmetry. In options, you get an asymmetry, meaning, and that's the number one thing over here in the super badass column, make more, lose less. You can set up trades where you can only lose, you know, $5 or $6, but you can make $20 or $30. That's the way. That's why you want to buy. When you want to buy an option, that's what you're going for. You're looking for that asymmetry. All right. Let's look down here at the same example on a put. Let's just say that the same guy was had one contract. Let's switch the strike to 100, or let's switch it to 105. All right, and so he paid $6 too. $6 for 105 strike put. That's really the same thing because that put is 5 points in the money. In the money, when you're talking a put, is the other direction. Puts are a little bit, you have to switch your thinking around. But when you buy a put, you're actually renting the downside on a stock. So what this guy's doing is he's one contract, that means 100 shares. Contracts equal shares. If it was 2 contracts, it'd be 200 shares. But on one contract, he's renting the downside in stock XYZ below the strike price, 105. But since he paid 6 for it, his break even is 105 less 6, 99. That's the only difference between calls and puts. In a call, you add the strike plus the premium to get the break even, and you know you subtract it here. That's pretty much the only difference. It's just everything in reverse. So in this example, the stock ended at 105. This guy, his option expired worthless. He paid 6 for it, which was 5 intrinsic because it's 5 points in the money. 105 less 100, where the stock is right now, is the intrinsic. Or extrinsic. I'm sorry, intrinsic. And then the extrinsic is just the $1. That's everything else. So in any event, he lost all of both of them, so it doesn't matter. Okay, price at expiration. Let's switch this. Let's say that the darn thing would have gone to 90, though. Or let's use 95. Okay, well, 95, this is pretty much the same example as the call with the 95 strike put. A 95 strike put, when you buy a call, is the same, synthetically the same, or it's a fair comparison to compare it with the 105 strike put, because they're both 5 points in the money. But so this goes to 95 at expiration. Okay, so let's see what happens. So we know that his extrinsic is gone, so that's 0. But what is intrinsic? Well, intrinsic is the strike price minus the ending price. So, because that's all an option's composed of at expiration is just intrinsic. So that'll be 10 points. So this option will be expire at 10 points on Friday if it does what I'm saying it does. His profit is $4 or 66%. So that's really good. The guy that shorted the stock, he made more money. He made 500, but it's less percentage. The other thing is, though, the guy that shorted the stock, if it goes the wrong way, he is subject to the whole loss. All this dude lost was 6 points. See, I made the option go to 10. I mean, go to 110. All right. When you are renting the stock by buying a call, you're renting the upside on a stock. Just like renting anything, just like when you rent a car from Hertz, or just like when you rent an Airbnb, there's a cost involved. And it's going to be a high cost. That if you rent a car from Hertz, it's more expensive than just driving your own car. I mean, obviously, they have to charge a premium, okay, in case you wreck it or just to pay for the wear and tear. So we can quantify that. And I have a real simple way of thinking about it. I'm not the first person that came up with this. I saw another guy do a video a long time ago. But just break it down in how much you're paying per day. So in this case, with 2 days left, this guy paid $6. So the rent on this stock is costing him $300 a day. Okay, if you're the seller, you're going to earn that $300 a day. All right, and the same thing with the put. It's the same example. All right, that's the cost. That's the cost involved is the price per day. The reason that price per day is important, and I want you guys to know about it, because tomorrow or the next day when I start talking about spreads where you buy one option and you sell another option, what we're going to do is we're going to buy an option where the cost is $100 a day, and then we're going to find an option to sell where the cost is $300 a day, and we're going to make $200 for ourselves. So I want everyone to keep the price per day or the premium per day in their mind. And also, the premium should have just been extrinsic also. I've seen more errors in the spreadsheet. It's not really an error, but actually the in the money amount is intrinsic, so that shouldn't count against you. What that ought to say is that ought to be just the $100 you're paying for extrinsic. And so that would be 50 cents a day or $50 a day. Okay, this makes more sense. Let's do it on a stock where the strike price is 100. On 100, this formula makes sense. I'll go adjust that later. Okay, so yes, we're going to switch everything to 100. So the stock price is at 100. The strike price is at 100. And in this example, it went to 110 by expiration. Now we're going to have to switch the price of the put. The put wouldn't be near that expensive. That other one was 6 because it had a lot of extrinsic value in it. In this case, the call might be worth $2. Oh yeah, strike price. Okay, so if we have a 100 strike price, 100 stock price, the premium is 2. That's all extrinsic because we're right at the money. So this is a better cost per day. This position, to rent this stock, to rent the upside on it, not even the whole stock, just to rent the upside on it's $100 a day. So you can figure that's pretty much gone as soon as you buy it. I mean, that you just have to know what you're paying for rent. There's a more sophisticated formula, and it's called theta. And they talk about theta decay. You'll hear theta all the time. I did this formula in a linear manner. I assumed that options decay at the same rate every day. Well, they don't. They actually start decaying faster the closer you get to expiration. But anyway, my point is you don't have to be a math wizard or to know anything. If you can just know what you're paying, how much the stock is costing you to rent on a daily basis, that's a good thing to know. You'll be ahead of other people that don't know it. Let's switch this example too on the put. Okay, so we're going to do the same on the put. So yeah, this position, the $2 put, it's all extrinsic value. That's your rent on it is $100 a day or $200. Yeah, so when we do spreads, or for instance, I'll tell you how this is going to work. When we get to the covered call section, which is going to be tomorrow, and that's where you actually own a stock. That's if you have 100 shares of XYZ. And then you go in here and you sell this option. So you're going to make this $2. That's your profit. You're no longer having to fight the extrinsic value. The extrinsic value is you're on your side. Okay, so what we're going to look at is, well, here it is. Here's the cost to own a stock. Here's the rent on a stock right here, $0. The PPD, premium per day, $0. If you're selling this option in this case, your premium, you're paying $100 a day. Or I mean, if you're selling it, you're earning $100 per day. So a covered call, that's how you would figure out, that's one way we'd figure out a good way to do it. We would choose a stock we like, and then we would find an option with the really high PPD. Say this option was like the first one, and it was like $10 or something. So yeah, then you're making, that's what you're looking for when you're doing a covered call. And we'll get more into covered calls later, but I want to introduce the concept of premium per day. Like I say, it's not accurate. It's not as accurate as theta. The spreadsheet can keep track of theta too, and I could put a formula in there for theta. Maybe I'll do that at some point in the future, but I really think people overthink it on a lot of this stuff, and options is one of them. Like I say, there's great videos out there, and this is not one of them. But there are great videos out there on the ins and outs of options and all the stuff you have to worry about. And there's so much more information than this. I'm trying to teach people how to trade options the way I do it, and I like to sell put spreads. It's basically the same thing. It's similar to what QQQY does and what a lot of them do. Anyway, so I'm just trying to tell you what you need to know. So about an option, what you need to know about a call option, you need to know how extrinsic and intrinsic is figured. And you need to know that extrinsic always goes to zero. So you just configure on that money being gone. So look at it in this example. So if we, just to think about it another way, we know extrinsic is going to go to zero. All right, so if we know extrinsic is going to go to zero, but we paid $10 for this, we need $10 of intrinsic. Well, how do we get $10 of intrinsic? Well, it's 10 plus 100, the strike price, 110. So you need a 10% up move in 2 days in this stock to break even. That's why this would be a better one for somebody to sell than to buy. Same thing. Okay, so let's just review extrinsic, because that's the most important thing to know. Is the extrinsic always goes to zero, and you're paying extrinsic when you're the buyer of a call or a put. So let's say you hate this XYZ company. Let's say you think it's going to zero. The company itself is going to zero. Okay, so you can buy a put. Let's say you're really confident, so you get 2 of them. All right. You buy a put. It's 100 strike price, and let's say this put is, well, let's stick with $2. That's fine. So, or no, we'll make it an expensive put. Let's say everyone else knows this company's going to hell too. I mean, let's say it's $15 for 2 days. Oh my gosh, that's crazy. Well, we'll stick with 1 just to make the math simple. Anyway, so when we buy this put, we're renting the downside on the stock, XYZ, and the downside under 100, which is the strike price, okay? We know intrinsic's going to zero. Or I'm sorry, we know extrinsic's going to zero. My fault. I'm starting to get cold. Intrinsic, we don't know what it's going to do, but we know it's going to be worth the strike price less the indie price, or whatever that is. Or, yeah, that's what it's going to be. So we can figure out, okay, we're going to lose 15 points of extrinsic, so we're going to need to gain 15 points at least to break even. So that's how you get the formula 15 minus 100. That's where your break even comes from. I'm just telling you a different way to think about it. Yeah, let's see how, oh, shoot. See how cold it is out here. Well, 39's not too bad. It was 21 this morning when I woke up. All right. On these really expensive options, the ones that are better to sell, you can see this one would cost the guy that bought it $750 per day. You know, that's crazy expensive. All right, so the next time we're going to talk about how they price options, and I'll do a short video on that. That's not too complicated either. And then after that, I'm going to do a video on spreads. And spreads is where I want you guys to get to. And a covered call is a spread. A spread just means you own one thing and you're short another. Usually a spread is with options. You might own a call at this strike price and you might be short a call at this strike price. But a spread is also definitely a covered call. A covered call is the OG of spreads. So yeah, we're going to talk about option pricing tomorrow. Then we're going to talk about covered calls and spreads. And by then it'll be Friday. And then we're going to start the Friday series about where we're going to pick a covered call out. And we'll just paper trade it and we'll see how it works. And we'll do that on Friday. So tomorrow is option pricing. Friday is covered call lesson. And like I say, it'll culminate with an actual paper purchase of a covered call. It'll be fun and we can kind of see how they work in real time. This is probably too basic for a lot of you guys, and I'm sorry, but I want to make sure. I'd really like to teach covered calls to everybody. Covered calls and selling put spreads and indexes, which is what QQQY does, or selling puts and indexes. Those are your bread and butter income plays. That's, there's all the time they're inventing new option stuff. Hey, this is an iron butterfly, and that's really, really cool trade. I'm not trashing iron butterfly, but you'll hear all these cool names, but all it is some combination of a spread. Everything's a spread. Everything involves buying one option, selling another. Sometimes you might buy an option here, sell an option here, and then buy a third option here. You know, they're all just, once you learn spreads, you've got it. And a spread can either be a credit spread or a debit spread. Credit spread means you take in money for putting the trade on. So it's similar to buying options. You're net short. That's why you're taking in money. You're taking in the extrinsic value. But a spread can also be a debit spread. A debit spread is more like buying options. It's a little safer than buying options because you also do have a sold option, but you're still net long options. Jackson, what are you doing? I thought I put him on his leash. Jackson, what are you doing, buddy? I thought you were on your leash. All right, guys, I think he's getting bored. I hope this didn't confuse anybody. It probably did, but leave me notes in the comments, and I'll try to, anything that I missed today, I'll try to cover in tomorrow's option pricing course, where we talk about pricing. I'll hit back on some of these areas, and we'll kind of go over it again. But just let me know what you think. I hope this is helping. And like I say, if it's not helping you, I'm sorry. You know, you're probably more advanced, but just be patient. I want to try to get all my subscribers up to the level of being able to talk about covered calls and selling puts or put spreads, either way. Once we can get there, then we can talk about a lot of fun stuff, like how to hedge out the risk in Tesla. And we can also talk about how if you like what Defiance does, but you want to do it yourself, I could show you a lot better way to do it yourself, or in my opinion, a better way. You won't make quite as much yield, but you won't have as big of downswings. Anyway, we'll get into that just within the next few days. I appreciate everyone, and thanks for all your support. It's been great doing this channel, and it's been a really good time, and I've met a lot of nice people. A lot of great people. I've met a lot of people a lot smarter than me, way smarter than me. Which I don't know why that should surprise me, but I'm learning as much from you guys as you guys are learning from me. So anyway, remember also, not financial advice, for fun and entertainment only. I'm not trying to sell anything. My theory on this is I'm going to tell you how to do a put spread, but I'm not going to tell you what stock to do it on. You've got to do that for yourself. Because I don't know. No one knows the future. If you knew what stock was going up tomorrow for sure, you could just sell puts in it. And if you knew a stock was going to go down or stay the same, you could do a covered call in it. But since you don't know, I'm just teaching the mechanics, and then it's up to you guys to come up with which ones to do it on. I mean, I'm going to talk about some general tips I use to help me out and stuff, but like I say, I'm definitely not a stock picker, and I don't hold myself out there to be. All right, guys, I'm getting really cold. Have a good one. I'll talk to you later.